All right, so I am joined today by Jeremiah Brown and
Hello.
and Joe Nixon
Hey, hello.
from the band Slick Shoes. We have the bass. We have the rhythm section. Basically, we have the bass player and we have the drummer today.
Yes, sir.
How are you guys doing?
Doing good, man. Doing great.
Good. Thanks for taking the time to meet with me. So, Slick Shoes. We haven't heard from you guys in almost 17 years. It's been a minute. I mentioned you guys released the live album last year, which I raved about on my website. It was I do my annual, top favorite albums of the year. Gave you guys number 1. I was really excited about it.
My man.
Yeah, no problem. I got really excited when you released the single "Hold It Down." I pretty much listened to it every day for a straight week.
All right.
Yeah.
That's where those 7 listens came from.
Yeah, that's me. All me, 100%. So now, cut forward, it's 2020. We, as of this recording, we have 3 new singles. Visitors, Carry This, and Whispers. So tell me a little bit about these singles, guys.
So I will talk about Carry This, and really, I think our thinking behind that was just kind of, I don't know, this whole writing process with us this time around seemed so organic. Like, I don't know, I think we all came in with, like, I don't know, ideas of what we wanted to do, but when we sat down, it was like Jeremiah, Jackson, Ryan, and Joe again, just writing, and it just came naturally. But, like, Jackson's riffs are, like, super gnarlier, so, like, we had to just kind of step it up a notch. And so, like, on that song, for sure, it was, like, Jackson and I and Jeremiah just getting back into that, like, challenging, like, mode where it's like nobody says anything, but like Jackson just belts out this riff, and like, Jeremiah's like, well, it's time to step up, and Joe's like, well, it's time to step up because this is getting nasty, right? And so I don't know, at the end of the day we're all happy with it, and I don't know, it just seems like, I don't know, like it wasn't hard at all. It was so easy and just so, I don't know, like I said, organic, I guess.
That's awesome to hear. Actually, Carry This made it onto a couple Spotify playlists, right?
Yeah, some really cool ones. I think we made the, I think that one made the skate punker or something. Is that what it's called? Skate punk list on Spotify.
Yeah.
And I think it also made the new punk list, set list song playlist.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Especially,
it's exciting, man. I mean, it's, when you get to see songs that you've been part of and something you're so proud of, like we are, of actually this whole album. I mean, but when we see that with on par with, people that we really respect in the industry, and different, especially in punk music and bands that we kind of align, when people align us with people that we respect, like that's the most flattering thing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I gotta commend you guys on the single so far, because like you mentioned, Jackson kind of kicked it up a notch. You could definitely tell when you're listening to that, and it's a little, of course, it's a little different from your earlier work, but I feel it's a natural progression from the last album, Far From Nowhere. And I want to commend you guys on it because musically, you guys have held up exceptionally well. Everything sounded great. The drums sounded great. The bass sounded great. The guitar sounded great. Even Ryan's voice has held up this whole time. And you guys have been doing this since, like, what, 1994?
Yeah, 94, 95. Yeah. It's been a long time. I think that kind of, I don't know, it kind of plays into it a little bit. Like, we just have a natural chemistry that we've had for a long time. And it kind of goes back to what I said before. Like, I don't know, when we were all sitting in the same room, getting ready to write this stuff, it just seemed natural. It just seemed like here we go again,
That's awesome.
So, I mean, this was the first time since Burnout I guess not really since Burnout, since we had already written probably half of what became Wake Up Screaming. But I mean, this iteration of the band, Jackson, Joe, Jeremiah, and Ryan, like that's kind of a carryover from Burnout, and I kind of feel like maybe it's more of a natural progression, I think, from that, because Far From Nowhere, yeah, had included Joe and Ryan, but Jackson and I hadn't written with these guys for a decade and a half or more, and so when it came time to start writing for this record, I think that we were just kind of like, okay, let's kind of get back to our roots and start like maybe paying more attention to the influences that kind of created what we were back then, and I think that it's true, it did just feel so natural, but at the same time it kind of became like, you know what, this may be our last chance at something like this, and we definitely want to make the most out of it. And so we definitely want to, everybody kind of stepped up their game and kind of gave their all, and we all did our homework, like we'd write a part and then we'd record it on our phones or whatever, and then like go home and like, I'm missing something there, and I need to add, I need to work on a part, like maybe a fill, or maybe I don't know, maybe whatever.
Right.
So yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, just from the 3 songs alone, you can really tell the production value there is there, of course, but just kind of like I mentioned earlier, the musicianship is on point. Lyrically, I'm digging it. Like I said, Ryan's voice is just as good as it always has been. So it's really cool to hear, a band that's taken such a long hiatus from releasing music to come back and put in as much effort as they have, because there have been plenty of instances recently of bands taking a 10 plus year hiatus, and the production value is all over the place, and it just doesn't seem like they were actually in for it. So it's definitely refreshing to hear that.
Thank you, man. I and you mentioned Ryan, man. I actually think on this, I actually think he's actually better than he's ever been. Like I'm so proud of the way. I mean, his writing's always been really good, lyrically and even melodically. But I think his voice I think maybe has matured into something that like, and he's really like coming into his own. And on this record, I think he's kind of just showing like, that he hasn't just. I don't think he's just stayed the same. I think he's actually gotten better. And much respect to his efforts on this too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Bummer he couldn't join us today.
Yeah, we'll catch up with him one of these times.
No worries, it's all good. Life happens. Cool. So you guys have been talking about releasing new music and new album and stuff like that for a while. You guys have been playing shows and everything like that. I'm just kind of curious as to what kind of prompted you guys to choose now to release new music.
Joe, do you want to take that?
Well, I think it was just, I don't think we planned it so much as the time found us. We just started as playing a show together, and that was fun. So it kind of, escalated. And then, it got from that to, let's write some songs and see what happens. And then we did the live record, and we're kind of did the live record with the idea that we should use the money to maybe fund our own record. And so, after we played a few shows and did the live record, it kind of got a little more serious for us. And then it really got serious when Tooth and Nail got involved and was, interested. And then we kind of said, well, I guess we're going to do this, right? And then, here we are. And this crazy year, and we're putting out a new record. That's just how crazy this year is.
Really good timing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
album right in the middle of a pandemic.
Hey, 2020 can't be 100% bad, and there's got to be some good things in there. So, actually, you brought up something I wanted to talk about, and that's Tooth and Nail Records. So, the previous album, Far From Nowhere, was on Side 1 Dummy Records. And now, but your previous releases were on Tooth and Nail, respectively, previously. So, what prompted the? Did you guys reach out to them? You made it sound like they reached out to you about it.
I mean, with the thing with Tooth and Nail, we had a friend of ours that kind of approached me and said that he was friends with this guy Adam Scatula, and who was an A&R of their Tooth and Nail, and that they were interested in releasing our live album if we didn't have any other plans for it, because we had announced it, we had talked about it, we had recorded it, but it took months and nobody had heard anything. So that he kind of said, "Hey man, these guys, Tooth and Nail wants to release your live record." And I said, "Okay, that's fantastic, man. That'd be awesome. But first I got to talk to the other guys and everything. But on top of that, like, you think they'd be willing to do, like, if we want to do some new music, like, what do you think? What do you think they'd say?" And he said, "Well, you should probably talk to him. So let me put you in touch." And so he got us in touch, and I mean, that's kind of how the conversation got started. I think that we had kind of kicked around the idea of self-releasing the live album, but that would have required, are we just going to do it digitally, or do we want to do a crowdfunding thing where we can maybe put it on vinyl or something like that, or
sure,
that type of thing. And it just kind of came down to, like, we don't really have the money and we don't have the time to dedicate to doing some crowdfunding and to fulfill these orders. And I mean, I've seen bands have huge successes, bands that we play with, have really wildly successful campaigns. And then I've seen, on the flip side, I've seen some bands that we played with that were Tooth and Nail bands that, like, did a campaign like that, and then it just, like, the business went out of business. The one that was fulfilling all the orders went out of business.
Oh no!
And, like, these guys were in debt, trying to fulfill these orders, and it was like, well, I'm not really comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
And so this was actually really good timing, and it was really good, like, good decision for us. I mean, not everybody wants to be on a label anymore, and for good reason. I mean, you get on a label, you're going to give something up, right?
Right.
But I think for us, it was a really good fit, because we were kind of like, look, we want to do this, and we all have jobs, we all have, families and things that are taking up our time. So what are we going to do? How are we going to fulfill these orders, or how are we going to make this album and put it out there that in a way that's going to be good enough, or it's going to be better than people expect, maybe, and how do we make it good quality? And so it was like, well, look, we're going to give up something, but I mean, we already have our jobs, we already got our, we got our personal stuff figured out. So if Tooth and Nail could help us out in that way, then that's great for them, it's great for us. I think it was just a really good fit. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I'd agree. Because honestly, we were in a position where it's like, we're not a touring band, we will play shows, but we can't do we can't back a record with touring, or anything like that. And a lot of labels, they're not gonna, they may expect you to do that, or at least be bummed out that you're not gonna do that. And this Tooth and Nail was really laid back and just, like, comfortable with our situation when we laid it out, and willing to work with us. And, like, if we were gonna sign to a label, they would definitely have to be, like, that lenient, right? So it was just a good fit, and it seemed like, there are a few people that have been there from the gate when we worked there, or when we did records for them, like, in the 90s, and that's kind of nice, and so it just seemed like a good fit.
Sure. And I mean, hey, what better year to release a non-touring album than 2020 when no one's touring?
The year of non-touring.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, to your point, Jeremiah, I totally get the not wanting, or cautious about signing to a label. I've read so many horror stories of just bands getting the short end of the stick, basically. So yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from that. So it's a relief to hear that you guys didn't really have to worry too much about that.
I mean, here's the thing. Every band that's ever signed to a label has agreed to the contract that they've been given, right? So as long as you go in understanding what it is you're getting into, and then the responsibility really falls on you to do your homework, hire an attorney or at least read through it and try to understand the contract. I mean, I think that we just knew going in, okay, this is the deal, and hey, we try to negotiate this and that. They're willing to do this, they're not willing to do that, and you just kind of make the best decision for you. And I think for us, I know not everybody even agrees with that decision now. I've talked to, friends and who are still kind of like, man, I can't believe you signed your label. But for us, it was the best thing. And I still feel that way. I still feel like it was a good decision, So
Sure.
It's not for everybody. Everybody has their own path. And I can live with the decision we made. And I think all of us could. I think everybody feels good about it. So Tooth and Nail's been great. Adam's been great. Haven't heard, Brandon's not really much involved anymore. Haven't really heard from Jim Worth anymore, but they're still there. I mean, they're still part of it. So
Gotcha. And Tooth and Nail has always been a reputable label, from what I've heard. Anyway, I mean, I've never released an album, obviously, but from what I've heard, they've always been pretty reliable, which is good.
Well, I mean, yeah, no, they've been great. I mean, they do everything they say they're going to do, and if they've never said anything to me in a way that they don't do what they say they're going to do. I mean, in the sense that, okay, yeah, we're going to put this on vinyl, we're going to put it on CD, we're going to do a T-shirt, bundle or something with it. So I mean, and again, to Joe's point, they didn't really expect a lot from us. They basically said, look, we know where you guys are at. Like, we know that even just from nostalgia, without you guys touring, without you guys really promoting, we're just, we're confident that we're going to be able to do this as long as we keep things at a low budget, honestly. and so we were able to do that, and it's just been, it's been good.
Right on. So I wasn't really able to find this info, but who do you guys have as the producer on this album?
Steve Kerma.
Steve Kerma. Okay, right on.
Oh, that was cool. Yeah, he was. He did Burnout. He did the vocals on Rusty. He did our EP, and then for MXPX, he did Slowly Going the Way of the Buffalo and Life in General. He did Supertone Strike Back. I mean, Steve's he was on No Effects. He was an engineer, I think, on a No Effects record. He's got like gold records and stuff on his walls in his studio, which is, you can't go wrong with that. And he's still the great producer that he always was. I mean, he's gonna get the best performance out of you. It was great to catch up with them and to sit there and just kind of shoot the shit with them a little bit. Ooh,
sure.
Can I say that?
Yeah, it's fine.
It was cool. It was cool to just kind of like catch up with them, and just kind of we all have different perspective now than we did when we worked with them back in 96, 97, 98, somewhere in there. And it was good. It was really good to catch up with him. And I mean, he's not, the music industry's changed. The recording process has changed in a lot of ways. Like last time we recorded with him before this album, we were recording 2-inch analog tape,
Okay.
And if you were going to make any edits, it was, you're going to get up a razor blade and some tape, and you're going to cut it out.
Yep.
And it was going to be like, okay, well, I need to cut out this 4-bar section. And we're gonna, I'm gonna splice in this next one, so you guys can take a 30 to 45 minute break right now, like just go get some dinner or something.
Yeah.
And now all that stuff. Actually, I don't think we did any edits on drums or anything like that. I think that was. I think what you're hearing is the performance. That's just the way it was this time. But
wow, that's impressive.
I think that's the way. I think that's from a drumming perspective, like.
Yes, I said drums.
Yeah, definitely from. I think that's I just like the way he doesn't give up on you. Like, he makes sure that you do the best performance that you're gonna get, like that you're gonna do, and he waits, and you might have done a good take, but he'll say but. He'll be like, yeah, that was good, but I think you could do it better.
Yeah, like you hit that tom like maybe more toward the edge, not on the center, or maybe like for me, like you hit like like I want you to like just play through, like just ring that note out instead of like hitting it twice, or like there's a drum, and he would do that with me, like there's a drum fill here, like just 2 hits, boom, boom, or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's got a really good ear for that, and he's always paying attention to, okay, what else is happening, as opposed to, I know my part and I'm just going to play my part. No. You got to kind of be willing to be flexible and kind of like be patient with him, because he's really good at what he does. And so even if you don't agree, you kind of go, okay, well, you look at the stuff on the wall, and you kind of go, okay, well, this guy's, he's got a resume. So let's hear him out. Like
definitely knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, definitely does.
Didn't mean to cut you off, Joe. Sorry.
Huh?
I didn't mean to cut you off.
Dude, it's totally fine. I'm not worried about it.
No, we got to do the whole thing all over now. I'm going to re-ask that question. Just kidding.
Man.
Just kidding. Cool.
The answer's going to be totally different.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe I'll ask the question a couple times to see how many different answers we can get going.
Until you get the truth.
Until I get the truth, one way or another. So, funny thing about that, I actually most recently did a interview with Dan Kurt from the UK band Plastic Barricades, which will be posted to my YouTube channel soon. And I asked him, where does the name Plastic Barricades come from? And he told me that he and his partner in the band, because they're a two-piece, have a running joke where they change the answer every time. So no one knows the truth besides them.
That's awesome.
That's a smart idea.
Much respect.
Which I thought was fantastic.
That's when, hey, Joe, you want to take this one? Really takes effect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Put
Like,
the other guy on the spot.
Yeah, what can I come up with to really derail this? All right, far out. Okay.
What are we talking about?
So, do we have a projected release date for the new album?
Yeah, it's September 25th.
Oh, right around the corner.
Yeah, so our next single is going to be September 11th, and then 2 weeks later the album drops. And I think there's going to be a featured track on there as well.
Really?
So, yeah. So the next single will be September 11th. That'll be "The Worlds Were Mine," and then September 25th is the day of the album drop. And then I think the featured track's going to be "Always Have" will be the name of the song. It's going to be dropped.
Okay.
I mean, the whole album's dropping, but I mean, Always Have is going to be. They're going to chase. The record label kind of reaches out and they go, okay, we want to get this band on. Hey, Spotify, can you put these guys on a playlist? And they'll go, okay, what's the genre? And I don't really know the process, but like it's something like that. And so like that's kind of why you do singles, and that's why you spread them out. We talked about dropping another single quickly after Whispers came out, and they said, well, it really takes time. Like we submit this to get put on playlists, and so and again, like this is where being a band from the 90s doesn't really benefit us, because we kind of go, dude, why can't we just drop a song right now? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And they go, well, no, actually, there's a very good reason, and here's why. And you go, oh, okay, yeah, we're old, we don't get it. So, like, we just kind of roll with whatever. It's like, okay, well, I mean, clearly you guys are way more good at this than we are. So, which is, again, another benefit to being on a label that we wouldn't have known if we had been doing everything DIY.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is, it's fine. Yeah. It's kind of
yourself it.
It's crazy how much the music industry and just not only like the label aspect, but just for the bands, how much everything has changed in a relatively short amount of time. It used to be, record, release your album, tour the hell out of it, record, release the album, rinse, lather, repeat. And now you don't really have that kind of stress anymore. You can, record your album, make sure it's done, tour when it's convenient, and then whenever you get around to it, record again, etc.
I mean, yeah, yes and no. I mean, to stay fresh on people's minds, though, I mean, you kind of have to put some content out. You know, you kind of have to stay on top of it. So
I think there's more of a hustle nowadays. Like, you really got to hustle. You really got to work to keep your name out there versus, like, you know, because a lot of artists are just kind of supporting themselves nowadays, right? They don't have a label and whatnot. So you see the hustle goes way up.
Right.
Like, you're seeing them doing, like, their own podcasts. They're just doing videos all the time, or just engaging a lot more, I think, because there's way more internet and there's way more social media, because in the 90s we didn't have any of that crap. You know, we were fresh out of pagers into cell phones, and so we didn't have any of that stuff. So it's a way different dynamic that sometimes I don't understand, right? And I even work in the tech industry, but, like, there's just aspects to the music industry and the way they promote and the way things are done that are way different. A lot cooler in some respects, and I think the artists are way more available now.
Sure.
Like, you could message them if you want, or do whatever. Like, it's kind of cool.
Yeah. And from an artist's perspective too, like, you get that feedback in real time. Like, literally the night The Whispers was released, like, I couldn't go to sleep because I was glued to Instagram, and I was just so, like, into hearing what people thought. And, like, in 1996 when Rusty was, or 97 I guess, when Rusty was released, we didn't have that, you know, like, it was like, okay, cool, you guys will get the SoundScan report here in, like, you know, next month or whatever when it's released. And it was like, so what do we do? You know, like, we just sit by, or, you know, I mean, I think we were touring when it happened or whatever, so they would probably call us, like, once a month and just kind of tell us what was up and how the album's doing and all that.
Gotcha.
And now it's like, no, man, like, you can watch in real time and people are responding, and you're like, okay, cool, well, this guy seems to like it. And, like, you know, you read the comments, and it's really, it's good and it's bad, because it's good because you get to hear it, but at the same time, you know, maybe, I mean, for us, fortunately, it's all been 99.99% good feedback. And I can't even really think of an example, but I'm sure there's some negative stuff that I ignore because I'm an optimist.
I like that.
But it's definitely it's the negative side of it is, like, I can't go to sleep and I gotta go to work the next day, or like, I should be hanging out with family or whatever, you know. And
sure.
And so it's good and bad. I think if you get too caught up in it, you kind of go, you know, your life revolves around all this stuff. But the good of it is, like, if you're screwing up or if something's not good, you're going to hear about it immediately.
Oh, yeah.
And there will be 10 million people to tell you about it.
The metrics are there if you need it.
Sure.
I definitely know firsthand, you know, I'll post the video or post the article or whatever, and, you know, for that whole, you know, first couple days, constantly checking the stats, constantly checking, like, oh, how many likes did I get? Oh, how many comments did I get? So I understand. Trust me, I understand. Cool. So new album's coming out next month. 3 singles so far. We got another one coming out in just a couple weeks, actually. You aren't touring, which is understandable. How are you guys, you know, other than, you know, life in general, how are you guys kind of keeping busy during this, like, weird time that we're in, since, you know, some places are still closed, some places are open, but with restrictions and stuff like that. You know, what are you guys kind of doing as in general to, you know, kind of keep some semblance of normalcy?
I've just been super busy at work, honestly. So I can't even say that, like, I've thought a whole lot about, like, music lately, which is a bummer, but all I've been doing is really listening to it. I haven't played very much, you know, since the whole pandemic thing happened, because at first it was kind of like this weird panic state where everybody doesn't know what to do, you know. And then that just gravitated to me working a lot. So the fact that like we're actually starting to like plan stuff and do stuff again is so hella refreshing for me, because it's really just been a downer. Like music is a big part of why my mental health is good, you know.
Sure.
And
yeah,
so when you
100%.
take that away in one aspect, you know, Joe's not a happy camper.
You know, I 100% get that. I've written articles about, you know, music and how it affects your mood and your mental health and all that stuff. I myself have personal stories about how music got me out of a funk. So yeah, I totally get that.
It will do that.
For sure.
What about?
So at the beginning of the pandemic, I was actually in the middle of buying a house. So I pulled the absolute biggest white privilege move you could, man. Like I moved from the desert to like the coast, like during a global pandemic. So like I really took advantage of the situation, and that is a rich white history of America. So so really like we were selling our house, and we were, you know, fixing it up, and we were doing all this work, and I didn't have time to pay attention to what was going on.
Sure.
And I have a job. I work for a public utility, so you know, I work for the electric company. So I didn't get a day off. I mean, really, it was just like there was no change in life for me, except I got busier because we were looking at houses, and because we were, you know, I was making repairs, and like, termite guy said I have to replace this plywood. Okay, so like I'm up on the roof, you know, and stuff like that. So it's the pandemic really hasn't affected me in a personal way very much at all, other than you know, just like seeing the people that I care about, and seeing people like small businesses like struggling and being out of work, and
right.
And eventually like I know people that have had to close their businesses, you know, and it's you know, they invested their life savings, and like they've had 15 or 20 employees, not big businesses, small businesses, but they go out of business because they're forced to shut down, you know. And it's like, well, I mean that sucks, you know.
Oh, like, for sure, yeah.
How do you support that? What do you do? And there's just really not an easy answer, you know. So it's 2020 has been a bummer, man.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I was a little worried. So I kind of mentioned this to you guys outside of this recording, but you know, I grew up in the Antelope Valley as well. So you're not wrong. So I made it out. That's why you guys are kind of like hometown heroes, because you know, you guys are like, oh, they made it. But it was up in the air because this was my sister's senior year. So it was up in the air if they were going to have a graduation ceremony or not, and things kept changing. So luckily it came out that they were going to do the graduation ceremony for immediate family only. So my son and I were able to fly down there for it. And I was worried. I'm like, okay, what's going to be open? Because my favorite diner is Cats and Jammers. And I was worried.
It's a good place.
It's a good place, yeah. And I was worried, like, oh, man.
Joint for those of you who don't know.
Yeah, it's awesome. The Cats and Jammers Cafe, not sponsoring this recording, but hey, they're open from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. and they make really good food. I was worried if they were going to be open or not, because every time I visit, you know, I have to go to In-N-Out, of course, and, you know, Cats and Jammers. So my friend of mine who still lives there hit me up. He's like, hey, meet me at Cats and Jammers. And I was just like, oh, thank God. Cool. Well, thanks again for taking some time out of your day to meet with me. Again, I'm speaking with Jeremiah Brown and Joe Nixon, the rhythm section of Slick Shoes.
Hey.
Thank you so much, guys. Adios. Have a good one. We'll talk to you later.
Hey, thanks a lot, Nick. Appreciate it, man.
No problem.
All right. Talk to you later, man.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I really hope you enjoyed it. For more content, head on over to thatmusicjunkie.com, and you can even check me out on YouTube by searching That Music Junkie. If you like my content, please consider becoming a supporter by heading on over to patreon.com/themusicjunkie. See you next time.